My dad mocked me a dreamer at Thanksgiving. Then his CEO shook my hand and revealed I was his boss. At Thanksgiving, my dad called me a dreamer who would never succeed in life, and everyone laughed. Then his chief executive officer walked in, shook my hand and said, "Sir, I did not know your father worked under you." My dad's face went completely blank. Hey Reddit. My folks made it their mission to remind me I would never be good enough. Joke's on them, I made a life without them. But before the avalanche hit, here is how everything began. My name is Arthur. I am 29, work in risk and compliance, and married to the one person who has always had my back. My family, not so much. All of that came to a head last Thanksgiving, the night everything finally cracked open. My wife Viola turned to me in the driveway, engine off, house lights glowing through the windshield, her hand on my knee. One disrespectful comment about me, we handle it together. One direct disrespectful comment about you, we shut it down hard. If it continues, we leave immediately. She squeezed once. I get it, but you know they will push. That is why we are leaving the second they cross that line. I looked at the house, my childhood home. 29 years of memories, most of them reminding me I would never measure up. Same brick facade, same porch light, same sinking feeling in my gut every time I pulled into this driveway. You sure about this? She smiled, that dangerous smile that meant she was ready for war. I am sure you deserve better than this. Let us see if they can behave like adults for 3 hours. We got out. November air cold enough to see our breath. Leaves crunching under our feet. I grabbed the wine we had brought. Expensive bottle. $68. More than they would ever spend, but they would not notice. They never noticed the details when it came to me. The door opened before we knocked. Mom stood there, apron on, flour on her hands. Harper Hayes, 54 years old, hair graying at the temples, eyes tired in a way that had nothing to do with cooking. Arthur, she hugged me quick, too quick, like she was afraid someone would see. Then Viola, glad you could make it. Would not miss it, I said, flat. She looked at me, really looked. Something passed across her face, worry maybe, or warning, or... Her eyes flicked toward the dining room, then back to me. A tiny shake of her head. I knew exactly what that meant. She knew what was coming. She always knew. And she was asking me to take it again. Her hand lingered on my arm for half a second. Not quite a grip, not quite letting go. Like she wanted to say something but could not find the words or the courage. Then she stepped back and let us in. The dining room was packed, 14 people crammed around a table meant for 8. My father, Carl, sat at the head like always, 57 years old, hands stained black from decades of engine grease and brake fluid, face hard. Carl Hayes, owner of Hayes Auto Group until 6 months ago when he sold out because the business was hemorrhaging money he did not know how to stop. My brothers flanked him. Troy on the left, 32, service manager at one of the shops. Loud, always had been. The kind of guy who thought volume equaled authority. Blake on the right, 30, regional supervisor. Quieter, slicker, could gut you with a smile and make it sound like he cared. Uncle Frank sat near the end. Dad's younger brother, only person in the family with a spine. He nodded at me, a small nod, acknowledgement. The rest were the usual suspects. Aunt Bree, cousin Kevin, a few others whose names I had stopped tracking years ago because they only showed up for food and gossip. Arthur! Dad did not stand, did not smile, just pointed his fork at the empty chairs near the middle. You are late. We are exactly on time, I said. He grunted. This is Viola. You have met her 4 times. I pulled out Viola's chair. She sat. I sat beside her. Troy grinned. Looking good, Fifth. You finally get tired of this guy yet? Viola smiled. Sharp. Not yet. Blake leaned forward, all concerned. How is the job search going, Arthur? Any bites? I am not job searching. Oh, he glanced at Troy. I thought you were still doing that consultant thing. I am doing that consultant thing. Right. He nodded slowly. We are just worried about you, man. That is not really stable work, is it? Everyone was watching. They would start a soft prod, see if I would defend myself, see if I would crack. I smiled, took a sip of water, did not answer. What I had not told them was that I had spent the last 7 years building something from nothing. Started as an insurance fraud investigator, got good at spotting patterns. Started noticing corporate fraud that cost companies millions. Built a consulting firm. First client paid me $1,200. Found $138,000 in fraudulent payouts in the first month. Word spread. Last year I sold it to Sentinel Risk Solutions for $8.2 million. Took a job as their chief risk officer instead. $3.5 million in equity. Corner office. Final say on every major fraud investigation in North America. Dad had no idea. They just knew I worked on a laptop, so it could not be real work. And I had kept it that way. Kept it quiet because I knew this moment would come. The moment they had pushed too far, the moment I would finally be done. 3 months ago, I found out Sentinel had acquired Hayes Auto Group as part of a bulk portfolio purchase. which meant my father now worked for a company I had authority over. Gregory Hartwell, Sentinel's chief executive officer, was an old mentor from my early investigator days. We had stayed close. When I mentioned the family situation over drinks, he offered to stop by if he was in town. Not to intervene, just to meet the people I kept describing. I did not realize how useful his presence would be until the doorbell rang. Troy was talking something about his new truck, how he just bought a $52,000 pickup, how the payments were brutal but worth it, how real men drove real trucks. I drive a 9-year-old Civic, I said. Exactly. Troy laughed. When are you going to upgrade, man? You are almost 30. When I need to compensate for something, I will let you know. Uncle Frank snorted into his drink, tried to cover it with a cough. Dad cut in. That is your problem, Arthur. Always with the smart mouth, never with the actual work. I looked at him. What work is that? Real work. He gestured at Troy and Blake. Your brothers work real jobs. Management, leadership, responsibility. They are building something, but you just sit around investigating people who are probably innocent anyway. Insurance fraud costs the industry $40 billion a year, I said. Someone has to find it. $40 billion? Blake repeated. Sure, and you are finding what? A few thousand here and there, more or less. See, that is the problem. Dad leaned back. No respect for blue-collar work. No understanding of what it takes to actually build something with your hands. You sold your hands, I said quietly, 6 months ago. Mom's knuckles went white around her fork. She set it down carefully, stood up like she was going to say something, then sat back down. The fight drained out of her before it even started because the business was not profitable anymore. Dad's voice was tight. Because the market changed, not because I could not do the work. Right. Viola shifted beside me. I could feel the tension in her shoulders. She had heard these conversations before on the phone after Sunday dinners. I had stopped attending in the car after the last family gathering where Troy had made a joke about me being the family charity case. Uncle Frank sat down his fork loud enough that everyone heard it. Carl, maybe we should talk about something else. Why? Dad looked at him. I am just trying to help the boy. He is 29, not a boy, and he does not need your help. Frank, Mom said quietly. Her voice shook just slightly. Please, I am just saying. Uncle Frank looked at me, looked at Viola, then back at the table. This is the same conversation every time. Maybe it is time for a new approach. Dad's face went red. You want to talk about approaches? How about you stay out of how I handle my family? I am family too, Uncle Frank said, and I am tired of watching this. Troy laughed. Watching what? Dad giving Arthur some life advice. Advice? Uncle Frank repeated. That what we are calling it? What would you call it? Blake asked. Bullying disguised as motivation. Uncle Frank looked at Dad. You have been doing this to him since he was a kid, moving the goalposts. Nothing he does is ever good enough because it is not what you did. That is enough, Dad said. Is it though? Because from where I am sitting, this looks like the same pattern it has been for 20 years. Arthur does something. You tear it down, your boys laugh, everyone pretends it is normal. Viola was watching Uncle Frank like she had found an ally. Troy stood up. You know what, I do not need this. Sit down, Dad snapped. Troy sat. Listen, Blake tried his smooth voice. We are all family here. Let us just enjoy the meal. Then stop treating Arthur like a punchline, Uncle Frank said. He can take a joke, Dad said. Can he? Or is he just tired of defending himself to people who should be supporting him? I looked at Uncle Frank. Really looked. He was the only one who had ever done this, ever stood up and called it out. And I could see what it cost him. The way Dad was staring at him, the way Troy and Blake were glaring, the way even Aunt Bree was shaking her head. Uncle Frank was choosing integrity over peace, and they would make him pay for it later. But right now, in this moment, he was the only real one in the room. The doorbell rang. Who is that? Dad asked. I invited some colleagues, I said. Check my watch, 7:03, right on time. You invited who? People I work with, I stood. Hope that is okay, Mom. Of course, she said quickly, too quickly, like she was relieved. There is plenty of food. I walked to the door, opened it. Gregory Hartwell stood on the porch in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Troy's truck. 58 years old, silver hair, the kind of presence that made rooms go quiet. He carried a bottle of wine. Good evening, Arthur, Gregory said warmly. Sorry I am late. Traffic was worse than expected. No problem at all. Come in. I led him into the dining room. Every eye tracked him like he had walked in from another dimension. Everyone, I said. This is Gregory Hartwell. He works with me at Sentinel Risk Solutions. Oh, Mom stood. Please sit down, we have room. Gregory extended his hand to me, professional, warm, then to the table. Thanks for having me. Arthur mentioned this was a family tradition, and I happen to be in town for meetings tomorrow. Did not want to impose, but he insisted, I said to the table. Chief Executive Officer of Sentinel Risk Solutions. Uncle Frank's fork clattered against his plate. Wait, Troy said slowly. Sentinel Risk. That is the company that bought Hayes Auto. Correct, I said. 6 months ago, a $2.3 million acquisition, part of Sentinel's portfolio diversification into service industry assets. The color drained from Blake's face. Dad just sat there, fork frozen halfway to his mouth. Dad works for Sentinel now, I said conversationally. How is the new management treating you, by the way? Gregory caught on to the temperature in the room. His expression shifted from friendly to something more observant, professional. Mr. Carl Hayes, Gregory said, voice neutral. I was not aware you were related to our chief risk officer. Arthur leads risk and compliance for Sentinel. He is a big reason our controls work the way they do. Dad's mouth open closed. No sound came out. Troy looked like he wanted to disappear. Blake's face had gone completely pale. Uncle Frank was leaning back in his chair, almost smiling. Blake recovered first, his voice careful. Arthur, listen. We are family, right? You understand how business works. Viola's voice cut through sharp. So, are you apologizing or negotiating? Blake stopped. What? Because it sounds like you were asking for favors instead of taking accountability. She leaned forward. We are done being your punching bag and your safety net. I looked at Blake, then at Troy, then at Dad. No favors, no protection. Business is business. Family is family. And right now I am not sure which one you have been worse at. But your family, Troy said, voice desperate. That is right, and family does not spend 29 years tearing each other down. Viola's hand found mine under the table. One squeeze. Solidarity. Tell me, Dad, I said quietly. What was that you said about real work? His mouth opened, closed. No sound came out. The man who always had something to say. Because I want to make sure I understand, I continued, voice steady, calm. Insurance fraud investigation is not real work. Corporate risk management is not valuable, but running an auto shop into the ground and selling it before the bottom fell out completely, that is honest labor, Arthur. Arthur, Mom said quietly. No, Mom, I kept my eyes on Dad. You want to know why Hayes Auto was losing money? Sentinel does pre-acquisition audits on every portfolio company. Standard practice. Hayes Auto had compliance gaps. That is all I am going to say at a dinner table. Troy stood up, voice loud. This is ridiculous. Sit down, Dad snapped. Troy sat. Mom's eyes were filling with tears. She looked down at her plate. Oh, I said. You thought I did not notice that Viola did not notice? Troy making jokes. Blake asking if she is tired of me yet. Dad not even looking at her when she speaks. You think that is normal? It is just joking around, Troy said. Is it? Yeah, man, Blake added. Do not be so sensitive. Viola spoke up. I have sat through 4 of these dinners. Every single one, someone makes a comment about Arthur being a dreamer, a charity case, not a real worker. Every single one, I watch you tear him down. And every single one, I say nothing because Arthur asked me to let him handle it. She looked at Dad, then Troy, then Blake. But I'm done being quiet. You want to mock Arthur? Fine. He can handle himself, but do not pretend you are family while you do it. Troy laughed, nervous laugh. Who are you to tell us how family operates? I am the person who has been documenting every single comment for the past year, Viola said. Dates, quotes, witnesses, because I had a feeling we would need it eventually. For what? Blake asked. For when this stops being ignorable. Dad finally found his voice. Arthur, I think you are overreacting. Am I? I turned to Gregory. How much did I make last year? Gregory hesitated. Arthur, it is fine. Tell them. Base salary $215,000 with equity vesting. Total compensation just under $900,000. And the sale of my consulting firm $8.2 million. My current equity stake $3.5 million at current valuation. Uncle Frank whistled low. Mom was staring at me, tears running down her face. Dad looked like he had been hit with a truck. But you drive a Civic, Troy whispered. I do not need to prove anything with a car, I said. I rent because I travel 200 days a year. I do not have kids because Viola and I agreed to build our careers first. But none of that matters to you because I do not fit your definition of success. Blake stared at his plate. Troy's face had gone red. Dad just sat there, smaller now, diminished. Viola, Troy started. Do not, she said sharp. Do not talk to me. Do not apologize to me. Do not try to smooth this over. You have shown us who you are for years. We believe you now. Bree spoke up from down the table. Maybe we should all just calm down. Maybe you should mind your business, Uncle Frank said. This needed to happen 5 years ago. Frank, Mom said. Please, no, Harper. He looked at her. You know this is wrong. You have always known. Mom looked down, did not respond. Her hands were shaking. Gregory stood. Arthur, I think we should go. Yeah, I stood too. Helped Viola with her chair. Mom, thanks for dinner. Everyone else enjoy the rest of your evening. Wait. Dad stood, voice desperate. Arthur, please, I did not mean. Yes, you did, I cut him off. You always mean it, that is the problem. You have spent my entire life making sure I knew I was not enough, that nothing I did would ever be as valuable as what you did, that I was a disappointment. I was not. I was trying to motivate you. Motivate me, I laughed. Dad, I sold a company for $8 million. I have decision-making authority over a portfolio worth $500 million. I make more in a year than you made in your entire career. But none of that matters because you decided when I was 12 that I would never be a real man. Blake stood up. Arthur, come on, we are sorry. You are sorry you got caught. You are sorry the chief executive officer of my company is standing in this room watching you realize how wrong you have been. But you are not sorry for the years of mockery. Viola took my hand. We walked toward the door. Arthur, Mom's voice broken. Please do not go. I looked back. She was standing now, tears streaming, hands shaking. You knew, I said quietly, did not you? She did not answer, just stood there crying. You have known for months since the acquisition, since you saw the paperwork and realized what I had built, and you said nothing. You let them keep tearing me down because you were afraid of him. I was trying to protect you, she whispered. From what? My own family? She flinched. Uncle Frank stood. Arthur, he paused. I am sorry. I should have done more, called it out sooner. But for what it is worth, I am proud of you. What you built, who you are. Your father is a fool and your brothers are cowards, and you deserved better than this. Thanks, Frank. We walked out. Gregory followed. Gregory spoke first. Arthur, I am sorry. I did not realize it was that bad. It is fine. It needed to happen. If there is anything I can do, just if compliance finds issues at Hayes Auto, handle it through normal channels. No special treatment, no protection, just standard process. Understood. He got in his Mercedes, drove away. Viola and I sat in the Civic for a long minute. Engine running, heat starting to kick in. She looked at me. You okay? Yeah, I think I am. That was intense. That was overdue. Your mom knew for months apparently and said nothing. She was afraid, I said, of him, of losing her marriage, of making waves. I get it. Do you? I thought about it. No, not really, but I understand the fear even if I do not respect the choice. There. I looked at the house. Warm light glowing through the windows. Could see shapes moving inside. Probably Dad yelling. Probably Troy and Blake defending themselves. Probably Uncle Frank telling them all exactly how they had earned this. We drove home in silence. The calls started at 6 a.m. Dad, Troy, Blake, Mom. I declined them all. Texts followed. Apologies that were not apologies. Guilt dressed as concern. Blake tried going through Viola. She blocked him instantly. Uncle Frank texted, They are telling everyone you lost it. I am setting the record straight. Me? What did Dad say? Frank that I am not welcome anymore. Told him good. Tired of pretending this is normal. Bree left a voicemail about family being family. Deleted. Cousin Kevin asked for $2,000. Blocked. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Dad using Frank's phone. I hung up and blocked it too. The harassment escalated fast. On Thursday, Troy showed up at my office demanding to see me. Security removed him. That afternoon, Blake's wife ambushed Viola in her firm's parking lot. Viola recorded it, told her to stay away, and kept walking. Friday, 3 a.m., pounding on our apartment door. Troy drunk, shouting threats. We called 911. He was arrested. I pressed charges. Mom called the next morning. You got your brother arrested. Troy got himself arrested. He is struggling. Blake is struggling. Your father is barely functioning. That is on them, Mom, not me. You could fix this. No, I cannot and I will not. You are destroying this family. I did not destroy anything. You all did that yourselves. I hung up. We filed for restraining orders. The process dragged 3 weeks. During that time, they tried showing up twice more. Security removed them again. Blake sent so many messages from new numbers I stopped counting. In early January, the orders were approved. 6 months, no contact, 500 feet, and then silence. Work steadied. I closed 2 major cases, saved clients millions, and got promoted to Executive Vice President of Risk and Compliance. Viola made partner. Life felt normal again. 3 weeks into the quiet, my assistant buzzed me. Compliance needs you. Hayes Auto file. My stomach dropped. What did they find? Significant irregularities. They want your sign-off to escalate to legal. Exactly what I had hoped would not happen. Send it to Gregory's office, I said. I am recused. Family conflict. 2 days later, Gregory called. Arthur, we need to talk about Hayes Auto. What did you find? Fraudulent billing, ghost employees, inflated parts charges, 18 months worth. Troy and Blake are directly implicated. Your father, negligence, not intent. I shut my eyes. Recommendations, terminations, criminal referrals. Standard protocol. Then follow standard protocol. I am recused. Already noted. I just wanted you to know. Thanks. After I hung up, I sat there staring at my desk. I had not touched the outcome. I had only removed myself from influencing it. Whatever happened next was theirs, not mine. Viola called. Lunch cannot work thing. You okay? No, I will tell you tonight. That evening I explained everything. She listened without interrupting. Finally she said, You did not do this. I know they did. They committed fraud. They got caught. That is on them. I know, but what? You feel guilty? A little, do not, she leaned closer. They spent years making you feel small, now they are facing consequences for their decisions and you want to rescue them? No. Then do not, let the process play out. She was right, I knew she was right, but they were still my family and watching them implode hurt more than I expected. 2 weeks later, the termination letters went out. Troy first, Blake an hour after. Dad was demoted to lot supervisor with a performance plan. Troy, are you kidding me? Blake, this is insane. Dad, Arthur, what did you do? I did not respond. The restraining orders were still active. Uncle Frank texted, they are losing it, blaming you even though you recused yourself. Troy's lawyer says he is facing charges. Blake's wife left him. The spiral hit fast. Troy moved back in with my parents. Blake could not get hired anywhere. Dad went to work and came home in silence. 4 months passed that way. Quiet on their end, peaceful on mine. I got promoted again, expanding my role to global risk and compliance. Viola won a major case. We took a trip to Iceland, hiked, breathed, actually lived. The restraining orders expired in June. I did not renew them. There was no reason to. They had gone quiet. A week later, a handwritten envelope appeared in our mailbox. Mom's handwriting addressed to both of us. I opened it at the counter while Viola read over my shoulder. Arthur and Viola. I know I have no right to ask anything, but I am asking for one thing, a conversation. I will not explain or defend myself. I only want to say I see the damage now and I am ashamed of my part in it. I am not asking for forgiveness. I just want the chance to apologize honestly in person without minimizing anything. If you are willing, tell me when and where. If not, I understand. Mom. Viola set the letter down. She is not justifying anything, that is new. You want to meet her? I asked. Only if you are with me. Always. Then we set the terms, public place 1 hour. If she slips, we leave. Done. I texted Mom from a number she would not recognize. This is Arthur, Saturday 2 p.m., coffee shop on 5th and Pine, 1 hour, no excuses, no justification. She replied almost immediately. I will be there, thank you, Saturday. Viola and I arrived early, corner table, clear exits, coffees untouched. Mom walked in exactly at 2, smaller than I remembered. Like she had finally stopped pretending everything was fine. She sat without trying to hug either of us. I owe you an apology, she said to Viola first. I watched them treat you terribly and I said nothing. I let them mock Arthur in front of you. I let them erase you. That was wrong. I am sorry. Viola nodded but did not speak. Then Mom turned to me and, I owe you honesty. She took a breath. When I married your father, I thought I could soften him. I could not. He hardened and I adapted to survive him. When you were born, quiet, thoughtful, not like the others. He called it weakness. He said you needed toughening. I should have fought him. I did not. She shook her head. I was raised to keep peace at any cost. A good wife does not contradict her husband. A good mother does not undermine the father. So I stayed quiet. And the longer I stayed quiet, the easier it became. Viola watched her carefully. No sympathy yet, just measuring the truth. Mom continued. When I found out about your company, the sale, the success, I was proud. But I said nothing because I was afraid of what your father would do if he knew I knew first. I have lived 30 years managing his anger. I let that matter more than defending my son. Her voice wavered. I watched you walk into Thanksgiving knowing exactly how it would go. I did not try to stop it. I did not stand up when they mocked you or when they dismissed Viola. I just sat there pretending nothing was wrong because that is what I had been doing for decades. She met my eyes. You were right, Arthur. I was a coward. She did not look away. After you left, everything fell apart. Troy lost his job and his marriage. Blake lost his reputation. Your father lost everything and still could not admit why. And I realized I helped create this. Not through action, but through silence. Viola finally asked, why now? Because I hit bottom. Mom said, I left your father, I started therapy. I am learning how to be someone different, someone honest. I am not asking to undo anything. I just want the chance to be better than I was. I let the quiet settle. What does better look like to you? I asked. A relationship I earned slowly, carefully. Maybe coffee once a month, maybe nothing more. Your pace, not mine. And if you slip, excuses, minimization, any of it, then we are done. And I will not blame you. Viola looked at me. I gave her the choice. She nodded. One condition, I said. Anything. You tell Dad and the boys the truth. All of it. No softening, no protecting their feelings. She nodded immediately. I will. All right, I said. 1 coffee next month, same place. We will see where it goes. Relief and grief hit her at the same time. She did not ask for a hug, did not push for more. Thank you, she said simply. We spent the rest of the hour on small talk, work, travel, life. She did not cry, she just stayed present. When time was up, she stood. I will see you next month. And she left without trying to make it more than it was. Viola and I walked to our car in silence, both of us knowing the same thing. This was not forgiveness. It was the first honest step she had ever taken. Our second coffee happened in July, then a third in August. Mom was different. Honest. No excuses. She talked about therapy, about recognizing patterns, about how she had enabled Carl's behavior by staying silent in October. Mom told me she had confronted them. Carl yelled. Troy called her a traitor. Blake cried, but she had said everything she promised. Troy blamed you for ruining his life, she said. I told him you did not forge his signature on fake invoices. Blake said you could have protected him. I told him you recused yourself and that he should have thought about consequences before he committed fraud. How is Dad taking it? Not well. He has lost 20 pounds. Goes to work, comes home, sits in silence. I think he is finally realizing what he destroyed, but he is too proud to admit it out loud. Think he ever will? I do not know, maybe, but that is his journey now, not mine. November came. 1 year since Thanksgiving, Uncle Frank called. Troy and Blake want to apologize to both of you. I talked to Viola. We agreed to one meeting. Public place, our terms, Saturday. Blake and Troy showed up looking rough. Blake had lost weight. Troy's eyes were bloodshot. They sat across from us at the same coffee shop. Blake spoke first. His voice shook slightly. I treated you both terribly, made jokes about Arthur to make Dad laugh, ignored Viola like she was not even there, made you feel unwelcome in your own family. I did it because he stopped, took a breath, because it was easier than standing up to Dad. That was cowardice. I am sorry. Troy followed. Yeah, same. I was jealous of you, of what you built, of Viola, of everything you had, so I tore you down to make myself feel bigger. That was wrong. Viola watched them. Why are you sorry? Like, really? What changed? Blake's face went red. He started to speak, stopped, started again. Because I lost everything. My job, my wife, my reputation. And I realized none of it would have happened if I had just been honest from the start, if I had stood up for Arthur instead of piling on, if I had done the right thing instead of the easy thing. Troy nodded. I am in therapy now, court mandated. And my therapist asked me who I was angry at. I said you, she asked why. And I realized I was not angry at you. I was angry at myself for not being you. Viola looked at me. I nodded. I do not forgive you, Viola said, voice calm but firm. But I will give you one chance, one dinner next month. You screw it up, we are done. You make one joke, one dismissive comment, one anything that reminds me of how you treated us before, and you never hear from us again. They nodded. Fair. They turned to me. I am sorry, Blake said, for everything, for the Thanksgiving dinner, for not standing up when it mattered. Troy's voice cracked. I am sorry for being a coward, for being jealous, for making your life harder when I should have made it better. One dinner, I said. We will see. The dinner happened at Mom's new apartment in December. Stilted at first, nobody knew quite what to say, but Blake asked real questions about my work. Troy congratulated Viola on her promotion. Mom kept things on track. January, Dad showed up at Mom's apartment while we were having our monthly coffee. A soft knock. Mom froze. That is your father. How do you know? I know his knock. She opened the door with the chain still on. Dad stood there, older, smaller, like the year had hollowed him out. Gray hair, drawn face, shoulders dropped. Harper, he rasped. Is Arthur here? He is. Can I talk to him? Mom looked back at me. I shook my head. He says no, Carl. Please, 5 minutes. I stood, walked to the door, chain still locked. What do you want to apologize? You have had a year to apologize. You blamed me instead. I know I was wrong. You are still wrong. You are here because you bottomed out, not because you understand what you did. He swallowed. You are right. I do not know how to fix this. You cannot fix it, I said. You can only decide whether you want to become someone worth reconciling with. How? That is your work, not mine. Ask Mom. She is doing it. Learn from her. She left me. Because you gave her no choice, he flinched. Dad, I said quietly. You spent my whole life telling me I was not enough. That real work meant your work. That success only counted if it matched your idea of it. You made me feel small. You made Viola feel invisible. You did not lose your family. You drove them away. I was trying to toughen you up. No, you were trying to feel bigger by making me feel smaller. Silence. If you want any chance at rebuilding anything, here is what has to happen. 1. Real responsibility, no self-pity. 2. Apologize to Viola, not me, her. 3. Stop blaming me for your son's choices. Troy and Blake committed fraud. That is on them. You enabled them. That is on you. He stood there taking it, really taking it for the first time in my life. If you can do those things, I said, and prove you are different when no one is watching, then maybe we talk. Until then, stay away from me and my wife. I closed the door. Mom wiped her eyes. That was hard to watch. It was necessary. Viola touched my shoulder. You okay? Yeah, I think I am. Dad did not come back for 3 weeks. Mom called. He wants to apologize to Viola in person. I looked at Viola. Your call. Let him try. We met at a different coffee shop. Dad was already there. Viola sat across from him. His voice shook. I treated you terribly. I let my sons do worse. You deserved respect. I gave you none. I was threatened by Arthur's success. And you were part of that. It was cowardice. I am ashamed. I do not expect forgiveness. I just needed you to hear it. Viola held his gaze, nodded once, and stood. We left. In the car, she said, better than I expected. Yeah. Does not change anything. No, but it is a start. March. 16 months after Thanksgiving. Blake found steady work. Troy started teaching automotive skills to at-risk kids. Mom kept doing the work. Frank stayed Frank. Viola got promoted. So did I. Life steadied. And somewhere in that quiet, I realized something. I did not need them to change for me to be okay. Their healing was not my responsibility. Mine was. For the first time, my worth was not tied to their approval or their apologies. That was freedom. In April, Dad sent a letter. Arthur, I finally understand what I did. I tried to make you into me, and when you became yourself, I punished you for it. I called it motivation. It was cruelty. I lost our relationship, my business, and my marriage because I was too proud to change. Your mother showed more courage than I ever have. I am trying to be a different man, one who is proud of his son instead of threatened by him. I am sorry for all of it. If there is a path forward, I will walk it. Dad. Viola read it. You responding eventually? He needs time to prove it. Life went on. Work, friends, small joys, and with each ordinary day, reconciliation stopped feeling like a test I had to pass and started feeling like a choice I did not have to hurry. I was not waiting for them to define me anymore. I had already built a life worth living with someone who loved me on my own terms, and that was enough. This story is not just one person's experience, but a mirror reflecting a highly common reality in our society. The personal details may differ, but the underlying lesson is a shared answer for many similar situations. In many families, criticism is disguised as tough love, humiliation is framed as motivation, and silence is praised as keeping the peace. What happened to Arthur was not simply the cruelty of one father or the jealousy of two brothers. It was the result of a system that rewarded dominance, obedience, and appearance over honesty and respect. For years, the family followed a familiar pattern. One person became the target, others laughed to stay safe, and someone else stayed quiet to avoid conflict. When a cycle like that repeats long enough, it stops feeling wrong. It starts to feel normal. And that is the most dangerous part of all. The damage becomes invisible until the moment someone finally refuses to play their assigned role. When I step back from Arthur's story, what stands out most is not the dramatic dinner, the financial success, or even the public humiliation that exposed the truth. The real turning point was the moment he stopped accepting the script written for him. For nearly 3 decades he was told who he was, a disappointment, a dreamer, someone who would never measure up. And like many people raised in environments like that, he kept trying to prove his worth to those who had already decided it did not exist. But eventually, reality caught up with the illusion. When truth finally entered the room, the family didn't collapse because Arthur spoke up. It collapsed because the foundation had always been built on denial. And that is where this story turns from observation into reflection between me and you. Because drawing boundaries is often misunderstood. Society loves the idea of family harmony, but rarely asks what that harmony is built upon. Too often it is maintained through silence, endurance, and the quiet sacrifice of the one person willing to tolerate the most pain. But refusing that role is not betrayal. Telling the truth is not cruelty. Walking away from disrespect is not destroying a family. It is exposing whether a real family existed in the first place. Arthur did not ruin his relatives' lives. Their own choices did that. What he did was something far more difficult. He stopped carrying the weight of everyone else's denial. Yet even in the aftermath, the story reminds us of something deeply human. Consequences can break people, but they can also wake them up. Some family members changed slowly, others resisted. Some apologized only after losing everything. And perhaps the most powerful lesson is that reconciliation, if it happens at all, must grow from accountability rather than guilt or obligation. So here is the question that lingers long after the story ends. If the people who spent years belittling you only began to apologize after losing their power, their reputation, and their comfort, would you see their change as genuine growth worth rebuilding a relationship for, or as regret that arrived far too late to deserve another chance?